All right, so in the next video, we're going to be talking about how to eat junk food and still be healthy. However, before we get to that, I want to talk about the low carb detox because this is a very important concept that's going to help prepare you for the next module. So it's very important that we talk about that first. I get a lot of clients. A major problem I have with the clients that have the hardest time losing weight, it's all to do with their taste buds. If you're used to eating a double bacon cheeseburger every single day and you have really unhealthy eating habits, it's going to be very hard for you to switch to chicken breast and rice and broccoli, for example, right? That, to a lot of my clients, sounds horrible, horrendous, bland, boring, gross even. You have the problem of what I like to call a low taste threshold, meaning you're so used to eating highly palatable foods, your dopamine receptors in your brain and in your taste buds are so desensitized to taste that you need so much flavor to even experience any kind of, joy or pleasure at all. So when you think about eating like a chicken breast, or some vegetables, it sounds horrible to you, right? One strategy I found out by accident that works very well for this is actually a low carb diet. Now, what I tend to do is a low carb detox. So for the next 1 to 2 weeks, you're going to commit to a low carb diet on a date of your choosing. The closer to now that you decide that you're going to do it, ideally right now at this moment or tomorrow, the more likely you are going to stick to it. When people say I'll do it next week or next month, usually the odds of you actually doing it are very low. So ideally, within the next 1 to 2 days, or at the latest within the next week, if you can commit to 1 to 2 weeks of eating at a low carb diet, if you struggle with highly palatable foods. Now, this does one of two things, and we're going to talk about the story behind this in a second, but it's very effective for resetting your palate and your taste buds. And if you know in your mind that you only have to commit to it for 1 week, it's a lot more easy to commit to 1 week of a low carb diet. I'm going to talk about the story behind how this came to be. So I had a client who he used to struggle like crazy eating anything that was remotely healthy. Chicken breast, whatever, fish, steak, all the good stuff that you need to build your body up and to build that dream body physique. He was not having it. He needed his, fried, highly palatable foods, pizza, snack, all this stuff. It was a big problem that we had because you can't really lose, it's very hard to lose weight if all you're eating is snacks and fried food all the time, and that's your diet. So one time he had a schedule for a surgery that he needed to do, and the doctors told him he needed to lose that weight to get a certain goal weight by X amount of time. So he's very motivated to lose the weight. What we ended up deciding is we had to put him on a low carb diet in order to lose the weight that he needed to lose at the time. It was a very restrictive and intense diet for him. We put him on 1,200 calories, very low carb, because he needed to lose about 2 kilograms every single week to get to his goal. I think it was in 3 months. He needed to lose a certain amount of like a crazy amount of weight. It wasn't healthy what we did, but it had to be done. It was necessary in order to hit the goal weight to get to the surgery. So what happened is we put him on a low carb diet, and his wife actually would always make these high protein, low calorie desserts, and I would tell her about that. Something that I recommended she would do. She actually enjoys it. I enjoyed making them as well, and I recommended it to her, and so she decided she would try making it for herself and her husband. So she ended up loving them, and she gave some for me to try, and I ended up loving them too. She would always make these amazing, like, low calorie desserts, and we're going to talk about that as well in the next module coming up. But he wasn't having any of that because he's so used to eating copious amounts of sugar and indulging in cookies and cakes and desserts all the time. So those low calorie, high protein, healthier options tasted like crap to him, because his brain and his taste buds were so used to these highly palatable foods. What ended up happening is after a while on this low carb diet, he ended up actually enjoying these, low calorie, high protein cheesecakes. So it ended up resetting his taste buds. And then after, when we put him on a moderate carb diet again, like normal, he actually reset all of his eating behaviors, all of his eating patterns, because he ended up craving healthy food. He ended up looking forward to eating, chicken breast or fish or whatever it was, or a sushi bowl or whatever. Yeah, it completely changed his life. From that point forward, he was always able to sustainably lose weight. So that's why I've came up with the concept of a low carb detox, especially for clients who struggle with highly palatable foods. It's a temporary pain, and then your taste buds will adjust. 1 week, 2 weeks max, you should start feeling like you're looking forward to eating things, basic foods again, instead of these highly palatable meals. And a great side effect of this is you tend to flush a lot of weight. So you get a lot of weight flushing out from the scale because you're going to be flushing out water retention. When you go on a low carb diet, your body tends to flush out a lot of water retention. You're more likely to stick to your calories because it's very hard to go over your calories if you have no highly palatable foods that you're eating, and you're just sticking to whole foods that are low calorie, low carb. It's a lot harder to overeat and indulge when you're on a low carb diet. So the odds are you're probably going to lose a ton of weight this next week or two. Your homework for this module is going to be finding a date. If you struggle with highly palatable foods, even if you don't, I would recommend trying this out for a week or two. It's not going to kill you. Find a date that works for you today, tomorrow, or next week at the latest, or any time that really works for you, but ideally the sooner the better. And commit to yourself that you're going to have 1 week low carb, 1 to 2 weeks low carb, no junk food, nothing, whole foods, minimally processed foods. You will forever be able to reset your taste buds and change your eating behaviors and eating patterns for life with just 1 to 2 weeks of sacrifice.